Coming up, Joy Reid has an illogical screed about successful Trump advertising, invoking Hitler yet again. And Trump has an innovative solution for repatriating some illegal aliens to third countries. Joy Reid is at it with her insane, badly thought out rants yet again. This time, the subject is the brutally effective they-them commercials that the Trump campaign put out in the campaign.
Republicans successfully exploited in this year's elections was their fear of the transgender community. Republicans spent at least, get this, $215 million on anti-trans TV ads, with the most prominent coming from the Trump campaign itself.
Even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
Trump's argument was that Vice President Kamala Harris is fighting for they, them, while he's fighting for you. Aaron Reid, an independent journalist covering LGBTQ issues, tracked Trump campaign spending and found that they spent, more money on anti-trans ads than they did on housing, immigration, and economy ads combined.
Here is the thing that Reid does not understand. The commercials were not specifically aimed at a small community and hence not anti-trans, but a mindset of the Democrats. What the commercials so effectively demonstrated was the focus of the Democrats on fringe, woke issues, and in so doing, they ignored much larger issues that affected the vast majority of Americans. Basically, this trans issue was totemic of the entire Democrat focus on perceived racism, sexism, anti-trans, anti-gay, and a host of other identity politics issues. They did this in preference to dealing with real issues. But with Reid, it didn't stop there.
For context, in the entire 50 states, transgender adult Americans make up 0.5, not 5, 0.5% of the population, or 1.3 million Americans out of like 320 million. There are a little over 300,000 transgender youths in America. That's 1.4% of all young people between ages 13 and 17.
Reid does not have a clue how to critically evaluate data. If she did, there is a glaringly obvious point she would not have missed that debunks the entire Democrat narrative about the issue of children sexually transitioning. This is about what you have just seen. The percentage of children aged 13 to 17 that are identified as trans is triple the rate of adults. That clearly demonstrates confusion and the results of children of America in actively pushing this harmful transsexual agenda. It shows why it is so important to allow children to mature to adulthood without state-sanctioned mutilation and sterilization of children. These data show that if allowed to mature by themselves, 2/3 of those children would not be trans anymore, given triple the rate of children who identify as trans compared to the adult population. To quote the movie Tropic Thunder, Reid never stops with the close to the retard. She always goes the full retard. Watch as she goes even more ridiculous.
It is an age-old tradition, which Nazi Germany did with brutally violent ends in the 1930s. While the Supreme Court refuses to do anything about weapons of war in schools, today they seemed inclined to uphold Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors. While the decision is not expected for months, a majority of the justices parroted a string of debunked talking points, all under the guise of protecting the kids, just not every kid.
Reid has now gone on to the age-old debate-losing tactic of Godwin's law, where invoking Hitler means that you have lost the argument. This is crazy. Yet again equating Trump and the Republicans to Hitler. That is so pre-November 5. I thought she would have received the talking points. Then she refers to the insidious term gender-affirming care, as if this was some great thing. This is the same misuse of language of referring to an abortion as reproductive health care. Gender-affirming care is quite some way to describe surgically sterilising children irreversibly. Note the point that I made earlier about how 2/3 of these kids would not identify as trans as adults. Democrats ignore this and infer that the argument that children that transition and later regret it is a nonsense argument. Well, the data that Reid herself puts up utterly refutes that point. Meanwhile, let's look at one of the Democrats who is more sane, New York Mayor Eric Adams, who is due to meet incoming Border Czar Honan.
Would you ever consider rejoining the GOP?
The party that's the most important for me is the American Party. I'm a part of the American Party. I love this country. This is the home of the free, the land of the brave. My 19-year-old nephew died on the fields of Vietnam, protecting what this city and this country represents. And that's the party I'm going to always be a member of. And I did it as a police officer when I wore that bulletproof vest for 22 years. And I'm going to do it with this blue suit as the mayor of the city of New York.
All right. Well, we are looking forward to your meeting with the so-called border czar next Thursday. In the meantime, Mayor Adams, First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer, thank you both for being with me this morning.
If you like this sort of content, please like, share and subscribe. New York Mayor Eric Adams has always, to me, seemed like one of the more reasonable Democrats. I did not realize, in fact, that he had been a Republican in the past, but that explains a lot. Now it appears that he is not disavowing the notion that he might become a Republican once again. Clearly, given the statements that he has made about illegal immigrants in the past and the fact that he is scheduling an early meeting with Border Czar Honan, even prior to the inauguration, clearly shows that he is more closely aligned to the Republicans, if only on this issue. It is good to see a Democrat acting in a rational manner on this issue, unlike many of his fellow Democrats. On this specific issue, Trump has a workaround on illegal immigrants to be deported where their home countries will not take them back.
NBC News has now learned the Trump administration is preparing a list of places where it might deport migrants if their home countries will not accept them back. That's all according to 3 sources familiar with those plans. The specific details, though, they're still unclear, but Trump has repeatedly promised to carry out what he calls the largest deportation operation in American history once he takes office. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now with more on her exclusive reporting. Julia, first, just reporter to reporter, my hat is completely off to you for all the late-breaking details you've managed to get about this new plan, which a lot of us are unclear about how it would actually work. So which countries are on the list?
Yeah, Morgan. Well, as a reporter, sometimes we find these details and we don't exactly know the how. We just know what they're talking about. And in this case, they're talking about sending migrants who were arrested in the United States back to the countries of Turks and Caicos, Panama, Grenada, and the Bahamas, even though these migrants are not from there.
As can be seen, the idea is to send these illegal immigrants to nations other than the USA or their home country. This is not as strange as it seems. In Australia, when I was in Parliament, we set up a process where illegal immigrants were sent to islands such as Nauru for offshore processing, as the UNHCR rules were much tougher in defining what constituted a refugee than Australian law. This served to shut down the people smuggling trade as far as Australia was concerned. In the case with Trump, clearly incentives would have to be offered to these countries to accept these people, and future illegal aliens would be similarly deported if their home countries wouldn't take them back. The point is to remove the incentive. Make it clear that living in the US will never be an option to those who choose to enter illegally. Trump is playing this very smart, taking lessons from other nations' successful policies. What do you think of this solution? And what do you think of Joy Reid's unhinged rant? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.